Hey guys, it's Chels from Blueberry Funded. So I'm going to be doing a market breakdown on a few pairs that I am taking a look at for this trading week. The first thing that I like to do when it comes to the start of my new trading week is just taking a look at what days are going to be the safest and best days for me to trade without having to worry about any red folds or news, right? So it looks like Monday is pretty safe to trade, which is today. No high impact news there. Tuesday looks good. Wednesday coming up, there will be ADP employment change as well as PMI. Thursday also looks good and safe to trade. And just being cautious going into Friday, guys, because it is NFP as well as PMI that day as well. So that is what I'm taking a look at. Other than that, this week overall seems pretty good and safe to trade without being super cautious on any red folder news except for NFP. So what I'm looking at right now is GBPUSD. What I like to do is I like to start off on the daily when it comes to my markup. I actually also like to look at current price and what it's currently doing. So I do see here on GBPUSD we did have a nice reaction around 1.37 500 area. So it looks like price has been holding pretty well in this area here for the last week. And so I'm also going to be looking at this bottom here as well, right? I do have my high of my range. This would be my weekly high, daily high, testing into that again, having that nice reaction in that area. And so what I'm typically looking at right now as well, the first thing that kind of caught my eye here is these equal lows building up to the downside. So I do see potential to the downside here on GBPUSD. There is a lot of open room here, and I do see price testing back into these areas, potentially back into 1.31 thousand all the way up until 1.28 500 as well. So looking into this area as well. And I'm going to go back to the weekly here just so that looks a little bit cleaner. So I am seeing some price action and targets to this downside here. I also will be looking at these equal lows here as target too, right? So I'm taking a look at all those right there. Again, on as we drop down to the lower time frame on the daily itself, there was a reaction to this low here around 1.33 thousand area, right? And so when we drop down to the 4 hour, there is a pullback starting here, a minor pullback. I would say this is a minor pullback within to this daily range, as well as that 4 hour range as well, right? Daily high lines up with a 4 hour high. So I'm looking at it as my daily and 4 hour high, right? So as price starts to pull back, especially what I'm looking for here is if price ends up breaking this internal high of this range here, that is a really good indication that we could push up a bit higher within this range, have some sort of reaction, especially within this POI here that I am taking a look at. Again, when I say POI, I'm just referring to an area as a point of interest for me for price to react off, right? So I could potentially see this again if we continue to break these internal highs within our range. I do eventually see price pushing up into 1.36 thousand area to 1.36 200 area, topping off over here and continuing to the downside, taking out these equal lows. And again, looking at it from that bigger picture on the daily here, uh, to continue lower as well. These lower targets that I do have on the daily and on the weekly here. But yep, that is what I'm looking at on GBPUSD. I'm going to be switching over to gold now. So with gold, gold has been pretty crazy, guys. As you know, last night it did end up breaking all-time highs again. And it actually did that last week during Asian as well, the start of Asian during the week. And so I'm not really looking for much on gold. Honestly, there's not much price action or really anything to go off of in the past. So I am going to mark this breakout structure here on the weekly because I do believe that we will at least pull back into that breakout structure around 3,500 area. But again, there's really not much for me to do. I personally would rather wait on my hands when it comes to gold. When I do look at current price action here again, just marking my breaks of structure just to know that eventually price will end up coming back to these areas to retest, right? We already are seeing a break and retest of this previous structure here, right? And we have yet to have one for this area as well, right? But eventually I do see gold topping out. Hopefully we don't top out just yet. Gold may continue to push up into 4,000s, but if we do get a top off, I will see short-term sells to eventually continue buys back up on gold, right? And same thing for US 30. When it comes to indices or metals right now, everything's pretty much at an all-time high. So just like US 30, we did have a nice reaction at its current price right now. It looks like this daily high did test into a weekly high, and it looks like it's respecting it for now. And so I don't really see any short-term movement on US 30 as well. I mean, previously this low had a nice reaction. It looks like price is kind of holding fairly nicely around this area, around 45,800. And so when it comes to its highs being broken, this is a very good chance that US 30 could continue pushing up as well. And I also look at US 30 and gold kind of like the opposites of each other. So typically when US 30 does push up, gold will sell off. It really depends, right? But typically they do the opposite in my personal opinion and what I've seen. And so if US 30 does end up breaking all-time highs, gold could potentially top off short term, but again, it's long-term bullish for both indices and metals, right? So again, I'm not really looking for any sells on US 30 until I see a potential break in structure at this swing low here. That's the only time I would say I would see a longer term shorts in the future once we start breaking these lows at 45,800. But if we end up holding these and they hold pretty nicely, we continue to break all-time highs. This is more so of a bigger chance of happening than breaking lows, right? But again, just staying cautious and seeing what happens going into NFP, because again, anything can happen. This is also right here, trend line. We could raid these lows to the downside, and there is a POI that I'm looking at around 45,600 within US 30 to kind of top off to go here. So we'll definitely kind of see what happens with that. But that is pretty much my outlook on these pairs, guys. Just stay cautious throughout the week, and I hope everyone has a great trading week.